God of our silent tears, thou who hast brought us thus far on our way, thou who hast by thy might led us into the light, keep us forever into the path we pray. On Wednesday night, June 17th, 2015, a 21-year-old white man named Dylan Roof drove 120 miles to Charleston, South Carolina. He entered the Emmanuel Methodist Episcopal Church where African Americans were participating in weekly Bible studies. He shot down 9 human beings in cold blood, reloading his .45 caliber Glock handgun 5 times. Emmanuel African Methodist Episcopal Church was created in 1791. It is the oldest black church in the South. In 1822, it was burned down after a slave revolt led by Denmark BC, one of the founders of the church. 35 African Americans were executed to send a symbolic message of what happens to black people who resist slavery. Emmanuel AME was rebuilt. However, the state of South Carolina outlawed all black churches in 1835 because they were perceived as symbols of resistance to slavery. Emmanuel AME went underground and continued to meet secretly for 30 years. After the Civil War ended in 1865, the church was reorganized. During the Civil Rights Movement, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and other well-known civil rights leaders spoke on resisting oppression from the pulpit of Emmanuel AME Church. To this day, the church has continued to be a powerful symbol of resistance to racial oppression. Dylan Roof researched African American history, and he researched it well. June 17th, the day he murdered 9 innocent people, was the same day the Denmark BC-led revolt was crushed. Dylan Roof chose some 193 years later to drive 120 miles to Charleston, the center of the slave trade in the Old South. He went to Emmanuel AME Church, the same church, and cold-bloodedly murdered 9 black human beings, 5 of whom were ministers and 6 of which were women. The homegrown terrorist allowed one person to live so she could tell how he coldly shot down these 9 human beings. Reverend Clementa Pickett, 41, the pastor of Emmanuel AME and a member of the South Carolina Senate. Cynthia Hurd, 54, a librarian. Susie Jackson, 87. Ethel Lee Lance, 70, a sexton at the church. Twanza Sanders, 26, a recent graduate of Allen University. Reverend Daniel Simmons, Sr., 74, a pastor from another Charleston church. Reverend Sharonda Coleman Singleton, 45, a minister and mother of 3 who coached track and field at a local high school. And Reverend Myra Thompson, 59, a pastor. Dylan Roof said that he had to kill these black people in this place at this time, this way, because, quote, you rape our women and you're taking over our country and you have to go. In his manifesto, he states that Negroes are stupid and violent and that segregation was not a bad thing, that segregation did not exist to hold Negroes back, but that it existed to protect them from white people, to protect white people from them. So as I traveled to South Carolina to bid farewell to my good fraternity brother, the Honorable Clement A. Pinckney, South Carolina State Senator and pastor of the Mother Emmanuel AME Church and life member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, to attend his homegoing service. I encourage the decision makers of this great city and my colleague to understand that structural racism and hate is real. As policy leaders, we need to be forever mindful to stop inequity and hate whenever we can, whether it be inequities in funding of our council districts, inequity of diversity in our police and fire and other ranks, or inequity in any corridors as we find it here in the city, lest we succumb to an America, a state, a city that does not allot full value for some of its citizens, but only a privileged few. Shadow beneath thy hand, may we forever stand, true to our God, true to our native land. Thank you.